Today's video, we are going to be looking at how to buy Bitcoin, in this case, using River Financial. Let's jump in. And just as a quick disclaimer, this is a US-centric video given that River can only support currently folks in the US, but it'll show the process by which you might withdraw or take self-custody of your Bitcoin from really any exchange in terms of just the basic functions that any exchange is going to have. So those of you who are not in the US may still find value in this video, but I wanted to mention that up front. So on the topic of acquiring Bitcoin, accumulating Bitcoin, this is a topic of much debate. And what I will say as a disclaimer right up front is that you don't have to use a traditional exchange option that's going to KYC you, meaning know your customer, meaning they'll take kind of all the information, your name, your date of birth, your address, ID verification to do certain things. You don't have to go down that path if you don't want to. I have done many videos on this channel using peer-to-peer options like Bisq, which is probably the best overall option, as well as RoboSats. And then as a final note, don't read too much into how I'm caveating these different things. I simply want you, if you are newer to Bitcoin, to have the full range of options, at least that you're aware of. Do not feel any sort of shame for going with a centralized KYC option if it's your first time buying Bitcoin, or if you have a preference and you accept the implications of doing that. You are a free individual to do with your money as you please. And don't let people on Twitter shame you into thinking there's one right way to accumulate Bitcoin either. The point here is so that you are merely aware of what is possible. And if you do have strong feelings about privacy, that you know that there are other options there. But if you're listening to this and you're like, look, Ian, I don't care. I don't care. Or if you watch those other videos and you're like, you know what? Yeah, it's nice, but I would just rather have a straightforward, centralized option to use. Or if you're using an exchange today and you're wondering what else is out there, today's video is for you. We are going to be covering how to buy and then take custody out of River Financial. River is one of the very best in the business. I'm very rarely on this channel. For those of you that have been watching for some time, you know that I am very rarely commending teams, right? I'm usually looking at technology. I'm usually looking at different facets of the Bitcoin protocol, different wallet software. But at some point, a company, through proof of work, proves itself as one of the very best in the bunch within this kind of category of trusted exchange, trusted custodian. So why do I think River is so special and unique? For one, they've got competitive fees, and you can also get zero fees on recurring buys. So if you set up a recurring buy, this is sometimes called a dollar cost averaging plan, where you're putting the same amount of fiat, the same amount of cash or USD or whatever into Bitcoin at a certain cadence. You will pay a fee on the very first buy when you initialize it, but then on subsequent buys, you get zero fees. That's really, really nice. Furthermore, River is a Bitcoin only exchange. And while for some that may actually be a downside, I think it's very good. It means that they are laser focused on Bitcoin. This also makes it a very good option if you want to introduce to friends or family who are newbies to Bitcoin. So you don't have something like Coinbase jamming all these insane altcoins down their throat at every turn. And we can see how that focus manifests. They have all sorts of different features. You can automatically take self-custody. For those of you newer to Bitcoin, this is probably rule number one, right? Even if you're using a great exchange like River, you want to take self-custody of your Bitcoin. They also have this beneficiary plan feature where you can set up an inheritance plan for your Bitcoin, which is very cool. From a security standpoint, they are 100% full reserve custody, meaning they do not lend your Bitcoin out. This was the pitfall of things like Celsius, things like BlockFi, all the different things that blew up this last cycle River has taken an extremely conservative approach and is 100% fully reserved. And they store the Bitcoin offline in a multi-sig cold storage, so just about as good as you can get. They also have the Lightning Network integrated throughout, so you can instantly send and transfer Bitcoin. For those not familiar, the Lightning Network is a layer 2 of Bitcoin that enables you to send Satoshis very fast. I have done a whole video on what the Lightning Network is and how it works, if you would like to check that out. And then lastly, they do have some great learning resources in this Learn tab that they have at the top of their website, river.com. So like they are invested. They're invested in Bitcoin. They're invested in the success of their customers. They're encouraging self-custody. They're doing kind of all the right things. So what we're going to cover for the rest of this video is a complete how-to on how to get set up on River, how to buy your first Bitcoin on River, and then also how to take self-custody of that Bitcoin. All right, so here we are on river.com. This is where we will get started, and we will go ahead and hit either the sign up button in the top right or the buy Bitcoin button here in the bottom left. And so to start, we'll put in first, last name, email address. We'll create a password for our River account. So I'll do that and be right back. And we can see it has sent us a verification email. So I'm going to pop open my email and click the link that I've received. And we'll go ahead and sign in with our credentials. Okay, and then it's going to ask you for a phone number, so you have two-factor authentication. This is absolutely a good step. It does say you can do something like Google Authenticator if you prefer to do that with some sort of authenticator app. You can do that later on, but it is going to have you put in your phone number. I will do that now, and then I will receive a code. So I've put in the code that was sent as a text to my phone. And now I'm going to complete this basic KYC. Again, that is the trade-off, right, that we discussed earlier. River is a fully regulated, compliant exchange, and so you are simply not going to get around this. So I'm going to put in my information here. It includes date of birth, last four of the social security, street number. Okay, so there we go. So as we can see on the right-hand side, we've got this kind of progress bar. So we've created an account, we've verified our info. The next step is to add a payment method. Before we do that, let's just orient ourselves to this dashboard. We can see our account value, which right now is of course 0. We can see the price of Bitcoin here across different time frames, etc. Once we have Bitcoin, we can see this easy little panel where we can receive additional Bitcoin or send it to some other address that we control. We will walk through how to do that as well. And then we can also top up cash or withdraw cash, i.e. fiat, once we add a payment method as well. And then finally, we have this little widget here in the bottom right where it has a couple little panels. River Link is very, very cool. We'll talk about that a little bit later. We also have, how to link a bank account, make a certain amount of purchase, and then creating a recurring order. So a couple just sort of quick links in that rotating panel. On the left here, we've got this tab for the account. This just sort of zooms in on the specific actions that you can take either with Bitcoin or with your fiat. You'll be able to see your performance. So, we can see the returns for Bitcoin, and then you'll have that displayed for yourself once you get started. You've got the ability to earn rewards by referring friends, as we saw earlier. And you can see here, right, when your friend reaches $100 in Bitcoin purchases, you get $5. 1,000, 15, 10,000, 80. So a little bit extra Bitcoin, can't hurt. So of course, right, as we've learned from watching this channel, every cent counts. So I will be putting my sign up link in the description down below if you would like to take a look at River. So be sure to use that link if you are interested. And then they've got support as well. You've got help text, help center, an actual phone number you can call, online chat. Okay. So now that we've oriented ourselves to the dashboard, let's go ahead and add a payment method so that we can actually buy some Bitcoin. And so you'll see that the options are ACH, bank transfer, or a wire transfer. Wire transfer is going to have you put in an amount and then have all the details that you will then need to put in whatever interface you use for sending a wire from your bank. We're just going to do the ACH. This is easier because you can simply link your bank account using Plaid, right? Plaid's, very popularly used service that lets you connect your bank account So we've put in our phone number, we got the verification code, we put that in, and now we are going to select our bank. Okay, so Plaid will basically walk you through the process of connecting your bank account. Now that we've done that, we can add cash. So we can fund our River account from which we will be able to then buy Bitcoin. And so for purposes of today, I'm just going to put in $200 here. Although as you can see, you've got, pretty high limit right off the bat, which is nice. Typically you have to do like extra verification to get something like this. So every 7 days, your funding limit will reset. So we'll go ahead and fund our account with $200. And as we can see, and this is important, we would be able to buy the Bitcoin instantly, but they're going to put a holding period on our ability to withdraw. And it'll be within 7 days, and then funds will be withdrawn from your bank account within 2 business days. So again, this withdrawal period is very common. This is, you're always going to see this. So it sort of is what it is. But let's go ahead and add cash. So we've just added $200. And I think if we refresh the page, we will see our $200. Okay, so we've connected our bank account. We have funded our account with $200. And now let's go ahead and buy some Bitcoin. So we can either go to this button here, buy Bitcoin, or this big buy and sell button on the left. And so here is where you can either do a one-time buy of whatever amount, or if you want, you can set up a recurring buy order. And so if you wanted to do that option, you could say recurring buy order, what do you want the frequency to be? So maybe I want weekly, and maybe I want to buy, $20 of Bitcoin every single week, and you could take a look at that buy order. So just for full transparency, it looks like there is actually this initiating River fee to the tune of 24 cents of that $20. But then the next order and supposedly thereafter, you would have that fee waived, which again is quite nice. So do be aware that there does seem to be that fee for the very first buy of a recurring buy. And the beauty about doing that over long stretches of time, and there have been analyses that you can probably find if you search on Google or Twitter, where people compare the outcomes, like the performance outcomes of just doing this, like just dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin over a long period of time is going to beat not only the broader market, however you define that, it's also going to beat 99.9% of all the trading gurus, all the crypto trading gurus. And so stop buying trading classes. They do not work. They literally don't even beat a simple dollar cost averaging plan. And so again, this is a really, really good way to accumulate Bitcoin and to do so in a pretty cost-effective fashion. If we come back, we can also take a look. You can do a target buy order. So you could specify a certain buy price. So if I'm like, ETF, whatever, sell the news, like maybe we'll get back to 42,000 and I wanted to buy, $100 of Bitcoin at that time, I can specify that logic there. Or you can use these kind of quick buttons and say, 5% lower than the current price, 10% lower than the current price, etc. Let's actually, for purposes today, just dunk this in as a one-time buy, and let's just do it all. We're doing this on January 10th, which is the anniversary of Hal Finney's legendary Twitter post running Bitcoin, which, by the way, if you want to run Bitcoin, you want to run a Bitcoin node, that really is part and parcel of becoming a first-class Bitcoin citizen. I have a whole playlist that starts off with a video on why you might want to do that. Like, what does that even mean? Why might you want to do that? And then tutorials and how-tos, step-by-step, walking you through how to set up a node, how to build one from scratch, how to run it, manage it, etc. So again, if you're newer to Bitcoin, that might be a nice one to put in your bookmarks and come back to after you've mastered some of these more basic skills. But there you go. Here's to you how that seems as good a celebration as any to stack some more sats. So let's go ahead and preview our buy order. And we can see here the price that we are buying at, the River fee. So again, that's about a little over 1% fee. But let's go ahead and buy this. And so we just bought ourselves 436,086 sats. So let's go ahead and close this out. We refresh the dashboard once more. We can now see our Bitcoin. And so you'll see I now have a zero balance in my kind of cash account here. And then I have my Bitcoin that we just bought. All right, so now that we've got some Bitcoin, the absolute first thing that should come into your mind, the instinctive action that you should feel rattling through your bones, is the existential need to withdraw this Bitcoin to your own self-custody. River is doing a lot of things that make them one of the best trusted custodians, but they are still just that. And you do not want to trust anyone else, no matter who it is, with your Bitcoin. And so what we want to do is to send this Bitcoin to a Bitcoin address that we control, whose private keys we control. Be sure you subscribe, because if any of that is new to you, I'll also be doing a follow-up video probably in the next video where I go into Bitcoin backup, seed phrases, best practices, all that good stuff. But that's the critical step 2. Step 1, buy Bitcoin. Boom, we've done that. Now we need to send it. But you will see that when you click to send, bada boom, bada bing, it had to come up at some point. Here is the additional KYC. So they need to also verify your identity through something like a driver's license or passport in order to unlock the ability to withdraw. That is a bummer. It sucks. There's no other way to say it. But it sort of is what it is. Again, we talked about the trade-offs earlier. You are more than welcome to take a look at all the other videos on my channel that go into some of the different ways you can purchase non-KYC sats, whether through RoboSats, Bisq, whatever. But here it is. This is what we are accepting when we go this route. And so I will go ahead and hit Start Identity Verification. And so at the very least, they've made this process reasonably straightforward. They're going to present you with this QR code. So I'm going to scan this with my phone, and then they're going to ask me to take a photo of the front and back of my government-issued ID along with a selfie. So I'm going to do this and be right back. Okay, so as you will see, they're using a company called Socure to do the ID verification. And once we complete that, we'll get this little message that says your ID verification has been submitted successfully and is being reviewed. You will be notified by email within 24 to 72 hours. So we're going to let that process complete, and then we will be back. All right, so it is about a day later and we have received the email. You'll just get an email from the River team saying, hey, congrats, we've reviewed your information. You can now send Bitcoin from your account. And so what we can do is a few things. We can come down and either say send from here. You can also always get to that from your account tab. And also, don't forget, you can set up this automatic withdrawal plan, which is pretty cool. So every time your Bitcoin exceeds a certain balance, your funds will be sent to an external wallet, right? So this is a pretty nice way to do it. You would set that specified balance. Now, this is actually really important. You don't want this to be too small. And the reason is you want to future-proof your UTXOs, or your unspent transaction outputs. You think of UTXOs as sort of bills in your wallet. You want to make sure that those bills are large enough that they can be spent in the future, especially with on-chain fees inevitably going to increase over time as we see more and more adoption on Bitcoin. And so as a good rule of thumb, I think you want this to be at least 500,000 sats. So that would look like this, 0.005 Bitcoin. To be even more future-proofed if you can, I think 1 million sats or 0.01 Bitcoin is even better. So I would suggest going certainly no lower than 500,000 sats. Ideally, maybe do something like 1 million if you can. And then you would simply put in the withdraw address. We will take a look in just a moment at generating one of those that you could then put in this field and set up your automatic withdrawal. And this naturally would go pretty well with the recurring order that we looked at earlier. So you can automatically buy and automatically withdraw once you reach certain threshold of Bitcoin. So that's really nice if you want to put a lot of this on autopilot. Of course, you can also just send Bitcoin ad hoc. So you could come down and hit this send button. And what's cool about this, as mentioned earlier, River supports Lightning. And so you'll see send to a Bitcoin address or Lightning invoice, Lightning address, LN URL pay. So that's really, really cool. So just as an example, I'll come to my Albi here, and I could receive 100,000 sats, create the invoice, and copy that invoice and paste it here, right? So that's saying, okay, we're going to send, 100,000 sats over Lightning. So that's cool. If you're brand new to Lightning, I have a whole host of videos on this channel explaining what it is, how it works, different wallet options, including Albi, the example I just showed you. So that is nice that you have interoperability there with both on-chain and Lightning. But what we're going to do as part of this tutorial is I want to, for those of you who might be newer, show you how to withdraw all of this to an on-chain address that you control. And so one that I would highly recommend is Sparrow Wallet. You can go to sparrowwallet.com, go to the download page, and download it for whatever your operating system is. This is a desktop wallet. You also have some instructions down here to verify the release. If you're newer to this is always a good practice to try and follow. I know it adds some steps and adds some technical complexity, but it is good to get in the habit of doing that. If you want a step-by-step walkthrough on that, I include it in my very original Sparrow Wallet tutorial that I did, which I will flash up on the screen and also leave in the description down below if you want to check that out. But you'll simply download the appropriate installer. And then when you open it, it will look something like this. And so we can see, okay, file allows us to create the new wallet. Even before that, if you're booting up Sparrow for the very first time, you'll probably be prompted, and you can always revisit this by going to File Preferences for your server. So in my case, I've connected my own Bitcoin node to Sparrow. And again, that other video shows exactly how to do that if you happen to be running a Bitcoin node, or if you're not running a Bitcoin node, but you've always wanted to. I have a whole playlist on that here as well. But if that is not you, do not fret. You will simply hit the public server option, meaning you will be using someone else's node to fetch information about the Bitcoin blockchain and to broadcast your transactions. So not a big deal there. And that is what you would specify if you're not running your own Bitcoin node. Let's close that out. And so what you would do is just hit new wallet. Maybe I'll say, demo wallet 1. We'll create the wallet. The cool thing with Sparrow is that you can connect all sorts of different hardware wallets, whether it's a wired connection like a Trezor or an air-gapped wallet like a Foundation Passport or a Cold Card. I have done, again, entire tutorials on all of that. In our case, we're just for now going to create a software wallet. And that is simply a potential stepping stone until you have maybe a quality hardware wallet. And I would highly recommend that you do that. But I don't think you have to wait until you get one in order to take self-custody. Taking self-custody and practicing doing that is a super, super important skill. And you can always level up and create yet a new wallet that is connected to a hardware wallet. And again, check out my other tutorials for how to do that. So in our case, we're simply going to click this option right here, and we're going to use this 24-word mnemonic up at the top, right? So we'll hit use 24 words. We're going to hit generate new. Okay, and so it'll display our 24 words. So what you want to do is write these down in a secure location. Do not share this with anyone. I'm obviously showing this, and I will, never actually use this wallet. And then it gives you the ability to add an optional passphrase. If you're just starting out, I would recommend just keeping this blank. By default, it is empty. If you're wondering how these words get generated, I'm going to be releasing a video next, so be sure you are subscribed, especially if you are newer to Bitcoin. I'm going to be going through all sorts of best practices related to your seed phrase, i.e. your 24 words, talking about best practices with backups, all that good stuff. So you are not going to want to miss that. So we've written down our 24 words. We're going to leave passphrase blank for now. You are welcome to put one on here if this is, your actual wallet you're going to use for some time. Just be advised that you'll always need to put that in, and this is different from a password. You will often see those two distinct words used in wallet software such as Sparrow. A passphrase is native to Bitcoin. It serves as akin to a 25th seed word, whereas a password is going to be just a local password that gets you into a particular program or application on your computer. So let's go ahead and hit confirm backup. And it reminds us, hey, have you written it down? You will need to re-enter them to prove that you've written them down correctly. So we'll say, okay, re-enter the words. And so we are going to now enter those words. All right, once we've re-entered them, we will create the wallet. And we'll hit this import key store button as the very last thing. So don't be thrown off by some of how Sparrow kind of lays out all these different details. All we did there was we created a wallet. We generated a new seed phrase using the random number generator built into Sparrow. And then we're going to hit apply here in the bottom right. And here is where it will ask you if you want to now add a password. This is a local password, meaning that if someone were to get your laptop and open up Sparrow, the program, they would need to enter this password in order to access it. So I would highly recommend that you do put one in there. For my demo purposes today, I'm just going to leave it blank. And it should go without saying, but just to be super clear, if you lose your laptop, something happens to it, you can no longer access Sparrow. Your 24 words are your only backup and recourse to regain access to your Bitcoin. So make sure to write that down and secure it properly. And if you did ever need to restore that wallet, you could simply put those 24 words back into Sparrow as a new wallet, and that's how you would regain access to your Bitcoin. And so now that that's set up, we can receive some Bitcoin from our River account. So let's go to the Receive tab on the left, and you'll see that Sparrow generates a nice receive address for us right here at the top. What's also really nice about Sparrow as well is it'll give you this indication of whether you have used that address in the past. As a best practice, you don't want to reuse addresses. Nothing bad will happen if you don't do that, but it's good for privacy to not reuse addresses. And so you can simply copy this guy and come back to River, and we would paste that address in here. Another good practice, and it may feel tedious, but do go kind of one by one through all the letters and numbers just to make sure that it is exactly pasted in as you copied it from Sparrow. There is no way to reverse an on-chain Bitcoin transaction once it has occurred. We'll hit continue, and we'll specify how much we want to send. However, do keep in mind you're going to have to wait that 7 days for it to fully settle. So we can't actually do this now, but I wanted to show the process of how you would do that. And then once you do, after a period of time, it will show up in your main sort of transactions hub here, and you'll be able to see the balance of your wallet that you just created in Sparrow. So that is how you can take self-custody. And just to quickly round things out, there are some other cool bells and whistles here. You can do this River link. So you can create a River link. Again, I don't actually have any available. I would have to wait until that settlement time. But once I did, I could just enter in the amount I wanted to send as a gift. And this will walk you through a process to create a simple URL that you can then share with a loved one, share with a friend. Again, I know we're past the holidays, but this is a great gift idea, and River's made it really easy. I really like that. For getting someone onboarded, they'll just simply receive a link that they can click, and it'll walk them through the process for claiming that. All right, so today we took a look at River. We took a look at the onboarding process and how to buy our first Bitcoin, as well as how to withdraw it, keeping in mind those time windows that you are going to see, both in terms of the ID verification, as well as just the time that needs to pass before you can withdraw it. I really do like the River dashboard. I like how it's arranged. I think it's user-friendly, and yet I think it also has a lot of these powerful features, whether it's setting up recurring buys, setting up auto withdrawals. But I'm curious to hear, what are your thoughts? What do you think of River? Does this seem like an easy way to acquire Bitcoin, hard, somewhere in between? Are there other options you would like to see covered in future videos? Or are there questions that you have about any of this stuff? Let me know in the comments down below. And again, if you are interested in River, be sure to use my referral link. But I hope you found this valuable and insightful. If you did, you already know what to do. give this video a like, use the share feature underneath this video. That really does help get this to a broader audience. And if you are so enamored with this content and you want to donate to a pleb, which really does help me continue to make these videos, you can do so in a number of different ways. There's the super thanks feature built directly into YouTube. If you're using something like the Get Alby browser extension, you can just click that and it'll automatically detect you're watching my channel, which is very cool. Or you can send some sats over the Lightning Network to my Lightning address, me at www.ianmajor.xyz. Or if you have any issues with that, ragermajor@getalby.com. I've done videos, by the way, on creating a custom Lightning address if you are so curious. And for those of you that have asked how you can get in touch with me, maybe you have deeper questions. I do try and stay pretty active in the comments, but as the channel grows, that gets tougher and tougher to keep up with. And so if you have a deeper question, you want some mentorship, you want some one-on-one consulting, whatever it is, right? Setting up a multi-sigs, thinking about Bitcoin inheritance, accepting Bitcoin payments for your business. Maybe you have a Bitcoin, maybe you have an idea for a Bitcoin related business, any of that and more. Reach out to me on Vita, vita.page/IanMajor. We can even set up a video call, all that good stuff. So Vita is a great platform that I'm using more and more. But we'll go ahead and leave things here. As a reminder, my friends, every sat counts. And until next time, I'll see you then.